So I'm continuing to plant some of our bulbs and corms throughout a number of these garden beds. And I'm eager to get them finished because it will be cold. It's gonna be in the 30s later this week. So I'm gonna move my houseplants in and do a lot of different plant chores and garden chores. But one of the bulbs that I had been waiting for, actually when we did the summer bulbs that bloom in fall, I wanted to get these in, but I think a number of them are caught up in the longshoreman's strike. And so they're caught up on the ports on the East Coast, unfortunately, but I did get a few in. And these are the colchicums. This is a Colchicum pink giant. And these are like an autumn crocus, but you could see that typically a crocus bulb is really small. These are quite beefy. These get to be about 10 to 12 inches high, and they have a much more like kind of tissue papery appearance, in my opinion. These are great bulbs to naturalize in the lawn, but unlike crocuses, they're really beefy, so in order to be able to drill them into your lawn, you'd have to have a workable lawn. I think they're gonna be easier to plant in a very soft garden bed like this that has been fully amended. And typically you want to plant these where the top of this is about 4 inches down. And these should be blooming now. We're shooting this in early October, and typically these would be blooming in September, October. So I don't have any idea whether these will actually bloom at all this year. I'm assuming they won't. I think that they'll be blooming next year, but I am going to plant them anyway because I got them, so why not? But my hope is to get a few of those other bulbs coming in, and at the longshoreman strike that they work out a good deal that's good and fair for everybody, so that we could get some of our bulbs in. So you can see that this is the root on the bottom, and I'm gonna put this as the top. They are a little bit disfigured, but I think they look healthy otherwise. You know, if they were like crinkly and brown, then I'd be a bit more concerned. Now, I didn't get a lot of these. You could see they're only 3 to a pack because these bulbs are really expensive. I think it takes a lot to grow them. I think 3 bulbs is around maybe like 20 bucks or so. So I didn't want to get too many. And I'm relying mainly on crocuses, not on the colchicums. But I figured let's start with a few, and then we'll see how they multiply and go from there. They're kind of like our native mertensias, which are native bluebells. They're pretty expensive because they're hard to grow. And I get a little bit every year, and then over time, you have a number of them. Some of the other ones that I'll be planting, crocus, from a crocus standpoint. Now these are ones that I plant in the fall, and they grow up in the spring. So you have to be a bit more patient with these. And you can see that they're a bit more diminutive. And these are Crocus thomasianus, and they are called Tommies for short, which I think is really cute. And these are some of the ones that I have planted in the bulb lawn. I think I've planted more cultivated varieties of Crocus thomasianus, but this is supposedly the species without any cultivated varieties. And I'll show you another one of crocuses. This one is a relatively new one that I hadn't seen on the market, but maybe it isn't that new and people are familiar with it. This is called Crocus chrysanthus panda, and these are slightly larger. You could see that the bulbs or the corms look a little different, and they have a really deep purple, like an eggplant purple, with like stripes of yellow, like a whitish yellow. So I thought that was pretty cool looking. And then I have another one. Yeah, these are the others. And this is called Crocus pickwick. And you could see from the size of the bulb, they're even larger than the thomasianus and the chrysanthus. And we'll look at that little stem coming up right out of there. But these are also ones that will bloom in the springtime. And this one is Crocus pickwick, and they have this kind of purple and white variegated kind of stripy appearance, and they are slightly larger. So my plan, as you may recall if you saw my earlier video, I was planting some of those fall blooming bulbs here, so you can see they're coming up. So you see their little stems just poking up, so looks like some of them got dug up. Look at that. So I got to put those back in here. So somebody's been playing around in here and it wasn't me. It's probably some animal. So I am going to put these back in there, and my hope is that I can show you later how they're blooming. But I planted a lot of those in the center here because I didn't want to have to go in there and step on them. So my plan now is to take these ones that bloom in the summer and plant them all around here. I'll do some of that, but not right away because I want to show you some of the other ones that I'm going to be planting in this garden. And that is the hyacinths. Now, hyacinths are absolutely lovely. I'm kind of partial to them because Hyacinth is actually my middle name. So it was the name that I chose. And I absolutely adore the smell of hyacinths in the springtime when they're being sold in the stores or at the bodegas or on the corners of the streets. I just absolutely adore the scent of them. They're very fragrant, very floriferous, and they are considered an aphrodisiac, and I can understand why, because I just want to just put my face in the hyacinths. So this is also in the family of Asparagaceae, just like the Camassia I was planting, just like Muscari. And you could see this nice firm bulb. But the ones that I've gotten are two different cultivated varieties, which I haven't planted before. One is called Purple Sensation. So again, a really deep, rich purple color. And then the other one I have is called Dark Dimension. So you can see they kind of look very similar. The Dark Dimension has a deeper kind of purple, almost purpley black appearance. And you may know when people are planting plants, they have the goth flowers, the ones that look, you know, black. There's a lot of lilies that get to be a close black color. Well, this is a hyacinth that kind of borders on that purple black. And that was one of the themes that I wanted to create in these gardens, was like those deep, vibrant kind of blood reds or merlots, those deep eggplant purples, things along those lines. And if we could plant some more of these bulbs in here underneath the rose bushes that I hope will eventually start to get a little larger, then that will be fun to do. So I'm going to plant up a little bit of these, and then after that take a break and I'll show you some of the other bulbs that I have that I'm going to be planting. Now I think I'm going to start with the hyacinths first. So what I like to do is get some of the larger bulbs and plant those, and then afterwards the crocuses I could plant a little on top of these, because these I typically will say, hey, all right, 2 to 3 times the length of the bulb. So you can see this bulb is about 2 inches. So then I would, and you could see the notches here, so that's how I know it's 2 inches. So then this would be 2 times the length and then 3 times the length. So you're kind of going 6 inches down. And that's why I love working with these hori-hori knives. It's a little bit harder to work with if you're dealing with maybe your native soil. If your native soil is a bit more clay-like, which is ours is, it's harder to go in there. But as you know, I built up all of these beds with Espoma's seconds, so basically bags that they couldn't sell. And I'm very pleased with that, because I wasn't planning on putting in any of these beds, and now we have them, and I have wonderful beds to plant a lot of these bulbs in. So I'm gonna just get these hyacinths and I'm gonna plant them kind of in clumps. I think that's gonna look really nice, as opposed to kind of strewn throughout the garden. And I love when they start to bloom and they smell so good. If you've never planted hyacinths before, they have kind of like strap-like leaves, but they're a little bit fatter. So not like an amaryllis leaf, but kind of somewhere between a camassia and an amaryllis. So, and it's nice to get those planted in and amongst other perennials that are more herbaceous, because then you don't have to deal with some of the dying leaves of the hyacinth. And these also are great cut flowers, which is another reason why I'd like to plant these in here. It's because this, for me, is going to be a cut garden bed. We have a lot of beautiful flowers here that would look good in vases as well. So it's the first week of October, and I wanted to show you some of the plants in this garden that are coming up. The Muhlenbergia looks so beautiful. Not all of them are in bloom, but you could see this is why I love the inflorescences of this grass so much. It's like this wispy cotton candy, purplish pink. We have some white that's growing up there. And then look at this Verbena bonariensis. It's just exquisite. We still have some butterflies and moths and bees that are coming and visiting these late blooming flowers, which is really lovely. And I have this one over here, which is going to get a little taller, but it just happens to be blooming now. And this is Nautia Macedonia, and it has this beautiful kind of magenta, purpley red shade, which I think is just lovely. And my goal with this is to have a much more, like a taller, wispier, spiry kind of bed. And you could see some of that coming through now, even though this bed is only 3 months old. You're starting to see some of those flowers, late flowers, bloom. And I have some bulbs that I want to plant in there too, including this one. Now I've planted Fritillarias before, but this one is massive. These are not the type of Fritillarias that we have planted in our 80,000 bulb lawn. This is called Fritillaria persica, and it has a really deep purpley black flower. They grow on these long spikes. I got 3 of these. So my plan is to plant these in this bed. And then also I have some alliums. Now, I didn't get all of the alliums that I want, and I might plant more in this bed, but you know, they've been caught up with the port strikes. And then this is Allium atropurpureum, which is really lovely. It doesn't get like a fully round, conical shaped inflorescence. It actually is kind of, I would say, a little flat on the top, a bit more kind of triangular, if like a triangle circle came together. And then this is a fun one. These are a little on the more expensive side. They get 2 to 3 feet high. And this is Allium forelock, and I have a number of these growing, and I always get a kick of seeing them in the landscape because they get this spherical head, and then they get this kind of like cowlick that comes off the top, like a little explosion, as if you pulled your hair up like this. And so they kind of have a sense of humor. And so what I'm going to do is basically plant some of these throughout. Again, I'm going to start with some of these big, massive bulbs. Like, where would I like to see these fritillarias kind of grow up? And this, oh, by the way, the cultivar name of this one is called Purple Dynamite. So typically the Fritillaria persicas are purple, but this one is a more deep purpley black. And this is a bulb that will bloom in April and May. So my goal is really to get this blooming from April through, or maybe even March through November. And you can see this is already October and we still have blooms in here. And these grasses will actually bloom up through November as well. So you could see that's already coming to be. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna plant this in here. And these have to go pretty far down because these are beefy bulbs. I have not had the experience where they get dug up by animals, but I do wonder whether these are attacked by the invasive lily leaf beetle. Normally the lily leaf beetle will attack our lilies, native and non-native lilies, but I have also seen them on fritillarias. So I'm a bit worried about that. I don't know if it's like a secondary food source for them, but it appears to be. Now I have these little plants growing up here. You see that? I have thrown in some violet seeds, which Makes me wonder, since I wanted to still plant bulbs in here, whether I should have put the seeds in a little bit later down the line, because they could be the violets coming up, so I want to be mindful of that. I'll plant one right here. Oh, thank goodness I'm working with very good amended soil, because it's just so much easier. It's so much more joyful having to plant these in soil that's easier to plant in. Okay. So that's basically what I'm gonna be doing for the rest of the day, is just putting these bulbs in. I have some others that I'm gonna plan on planting in as well, but you know, like I said, I just gotta plant them when I get them in. And I'm really looking forward to planting the tulips. I'm getting quite a number of them in, but I haven't gotten them all in yet. And I'm really looking forward to doing that episode. So I hope you stick with us, and I'll share with you some of the planting plan for those. In the meantime, I'm gonna get busy with the garden, and I'll see you later. Bye. If you've been enjoying these videos, give the channel a follow, tap the notifications button so you know when we drop the next video, and become a member of the channel to support our work. We'll be wrapping up the garden chores here in the next couple months and switching gears to more renovations and interviews around the area, so stay tuned here. We'll see you in the next video.